Hey, welcome back to CKLU 96.7. This is your hour of Creator Conversations. This is your host, Jess, signing in from our Creator. You can check out ourcreator.com for all sorts of updates on different social things going on in the city, different updates on people, events, places that you should know about in Sudbury. We're always updating all sorts of different content. You can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. You can even find us on Snapchat, all under our Creator. That's OURCRATER. Today we have a very special guest with someone that's been on my bucket list to bring in for an interview for a little while. It's Tony Anselmo. If you don't recognize him by his name, you would definitely recognize him from Records on Wheels. That took up a notable corner on Elm Street, the corner of Elm Street and Durham for quite a long time. Definitely a landmark in our city for almost 40 years. So we got to talk to Tony all sorts of different details about his days at Records on Wheels, the different things that he sees that for downtown, what he sees for the future of even vinyl. We get to hear about some of his heroes that he got to meet over the years. So we're going to head right to it because Tony was so cool to talk to. And we'll be back shortly with some music as well. Welcome to another edition of Creator Conversations. This week we have a very special guest on the show, one that you may or may not be familiar with, but you definitely should be, Tony Anselmo. So if that name doesn't sound familiar to you, Records on Wheels, I'm sure will. Definitely an institution downtown for anyone that grew up here. So Tony, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tony, did you grow up in Sudbury, or how did you end up here?
Actually, I was born in Italy and emigrated here in 1957 as a 5-year-old. I'll never forget arriving at the train station on Elgin Street, and I'd never seen snow in my life. And we got here, and there was all the snow, and I turned to my mother and I said, "Where did our father bring us?"
You're so confused.
Yes.
And so then you've kind of stayed here ever since? You made your home here?
Yes, yeah.
Perfect. So, but you did leave for a little while, right?
Yes, I lived in Toronto for about 4 years.
And it just wasn't for you, eh?
No.
So what do you think brought you back?
This is home. My friends are all here. And you know what? My circle of friends were pretty tight. Like one of my friends was transferred to Thunder Bay. He was there for 10 years. The day that he retired, he came back home. It was almost like he had his truck packed and ready to come back.
And you're definitely a huge proponent for just kind of hometown pride in Sudbury.
Yeah.
So what do you think it is about Sudbury that makes it so special?
The people. The people is what make it special. People, if you meet someone once, they're your friend forever, it seems.
Now, just here in Sudbury, eh?
Yeah. Having lived in Toronto, you never made friends with Torontonians. Because truly, there is no Torontonians. There are people that have moved to Toronto that don't have roots there. So there's not that bonding of friendships because of that.
Of that long-standing history of the same town.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. So you ended up back here in Sudbury, and oddly enough, Records on Wheels, so definitely always been an institution, but also something that in my lifetime I only ever saw as an actual storefront. So it actually didn't really occur to me until relatively recently that Records on Wheels actually was called Records on Wheels because at one time was in fact on wheels.
Yes.
So can you tell us the history of Records on Wheels, how it all got started?
Well, Records on Wheels actually was started in Toronto by two brothers, and I was their buyer at the time. And they grew to a point where they said, well, we can't be in a bus forever. So they took a storefront, at which point in time I said, hey, what are you guys doing with the bus? They handed me the keys and said, go where you want to go. And I said, I'm going home. And I came back in May of 1974. And knowing the weather in Sudbury, come November, I said, I can't stay in a bus in the wintertime.
This is too cold.
Yes. So I moved from the bus in November to the second floor location. It was called back then the mall. I used to say, you need a search warrant to find us.
So is this the mall? Would this have been downtown still?
Yes. It's where the TD Bank is right now.
Okay.
It was upstairs there.
And so upstairs, and that was where your store was at first?
Yeah.
Hidden away up in the corner there.
That's right.
So how big was that space?
It was about 390 square feet.
Okay, so in comparison to your regular store
it was bigger than the bus.
Definitely bigger than a bus.
Then from there, Sudbury being historically driven by strikes and such, we moved from there to Durham Street, the lower part of Durham Street. We were there for 4 years. And it was actually double the space that we had there. And then an opportunity came to move up to Elm Street, and we moved to where Pizza is right now.
Oh, okay.
And we were there for about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then we moved across the street to where Kohl's used to be.
Okay.
Right on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a store that was, again, twice the size of what I had. And then from there, the opportunity came to move to the corner of Elm and Durham.
Mm-hmm.
And we were there for...
And that's the location that like most people probably know
that's right.
The store for.
That was when downtown Sudbury was bustling, though. And the mall was busy, and we were on the right side of the street.
Yeah. Like right next to the actual downtown mall, right?
Yeah.
And there used to be at that time, I think there was a lot more business in that area.
Oh, geez, yes. Elm Street was the retail hub at the time. Now, it's how times have changed, where Durham Street used to be the hub of retail. Now it seems to be becoming the same area again as it was in the 60s.
So in all your years at Records on Wheels, obviously you had a lot of rapport with all your customers. You really got to know a lot of them. And so can you tell us about basically what that's like? Do you kind of playing matchmaker for music with all these people?
You know what? I used to call myself the psychiatrist. People would come into my store, and within 5 minutes, I knew their life history. Almost like a bartender. And the worst part was when you didn't want to hear it anymore, you couldn't run away because you had to be there.
It's your store. You can't leave.
That's right.
Oh man. So what is maybe like a great example of a time that you picked out something for somebody that they never heard of, ended up being their favorite thing?
Well, I always go back to probably one of the most commercial albums in music history, Bad Out of Hell. Not my favorite, but just to give you an idea of how Records on Wheels, and I don't say me, myself, or our store here in Sudbury, but Records on Wheels as a group of stores, we made that album as big as it was. When we first ordered it in Toronto, we ordered 1,500 copies of it. Sam, the record man with the chain as big as it was across the country, ordered 25.
No way.
Yeah.
That's outrageous. So that's Bad Out of Hell. That's a Meatloaf, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Records on Wheels, man. Meatloaf should write you guys an endorsement check.
We actually got a gold record.
Really?
Of number of units sold in Canada.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, Meatloaf really does owe you guys a favor. So are you obviously you spent, I think altogether Records and Wheels was in business for 40 years for you, right?
Exactly.
So you must have seen so many different transitions, so many different things happening in downtown over the years.
Downtown, transitioning in our industry, where we went from records and 8 tracks to cassette to CD, and now come full circle back to LPs again.
Back to vinyl all over, except for a lot more expensive.
A lot more expensive. And that's one of the reasons why I don't think vinyl is going to be a lasting thing. For the simple reason is a kid can't walk into a store with $50 and come out with 5 records. He's lucky to come out with 1.
Mm.
So it's all economics.
Yeah, for sure. So where do you see it going next then? Do you think that there will still be a continuation of physical albums, or do you think everything's going to kind of go digital?
Oh, digital is dead now. What happened to the industry was the fact that technology killed the industry. I thought in the beginning that technology would open people's minds to take chances on different music, but that never really happened. What happened was we couldn't compete with free. Mind you, people weren't listening. The quality wasn't there. And it still isn't there. Digital is not as good as analog.
Just as far as actual sound quality, right?
That's right. It's a bigger sound. It's a more tangible sound. I always used to say about when CDs came out, rock and roll is not that clean. It's dirty. Hence, it's got to be vinyl.
Well, so since you're such a proponent of vinyl then, if somebody was like, say, starting a new vinyl collection, what are a few of the records that you would say that they absolutely had to get in their collection?
They got to have the whole Frank Zappa collection. Otherwise, they're not listening to music.
I don't
But you know what Frank Zappa always said, He said, they asked him how people reacted to his music. He goes, for the people that get it, good for them. For the other people that don't get it, the hell with them. Doesn't matter. They don't count.
So in 40 years downtown, you obviously saw a lot of changes. Records on Wheels has closed its doors since then, over the last couple of years. So what kind of changes do you think that downtown Sudbury needs to put in place next to kind of continue to grow?
Well, I've always been a big believer in the European way. What downtown Sudbury needs is a meeting and gathering place where people can come any time of the day and something is happening. That's how you're going to draw people from the outskirts to think of downtown Sudbury as their downtown. Right now, we don't have that.
Mm-hmm. It's like kind of lacking this sense of community.
Exactly.
And it's kind of an unfortunate thing where it ends up being like a downtown versus
an outside versus the inside. And I think when amalgamation happened, that's what killed this city. Because there's no pride in being a Sudburian. I remember being in Toronto one time, and this girl was going out with a friend of mine, and she goes, where are you from? I said, well, Sudbury. She goes, oh. I said, oh, hold it now. Where are you from? Because nobody's from Toronto, I said. Where are you from? And she told me Ajax or someplace like that. And she made some comment, and he's trying to tell her to just shut up. Don't get him going. And so when she told me where she was from, I said, if Sudbury is the asshole of the world, where you're from is a hemorrhoid on the asshole of the world. Which she didn't take too well, but you know, I've always been a major proud of my city.
Mm.
And I don't put down other places till you put down where I'm from. Then you're going to get it both barrels.
Now, you kind of continued on with your life, raised your family here. So is it important to you, did you find, to kind of continue to instill this sense of hometown pride in your children?
It was osmosis for them because they saw how passionate I was about it. And they're the same way.
Tony, it's been great talking to you today. So we're going to cut to our first section of music here, and we'll be back. We're going to hear more about some of the projects that Tony's working on and more about his Blues for Debbie concert that he has coming up. Hey there, welcome back to CKLU 96.7. We're about to head into some music here. We have a last minute edition. So when I came into the studio today, the station manager, Rob, let me know that he used to be part of a band called The Knobs, and that in their first album, they all loved Tony so much that they wrote a song for their first album called Tony Anselmo about Tony Anselmo. So this is a last minute edition here that we are all going to hear live together. So that's we're going to do a quick lineup here. So we have first Tony Anselmo by the Knobs. Then we have Big Smooth by White Hot. They're going to be playing actually this weekend on the 24th for Myths and Mirrors benefit. This is going to be hosted with there's a bunch of other artists performing, hosted in partnership with Northern Lights Festival Boreal. So we're going to definitely get you pumped up for that. After that, there is You've Got a Lot on Your Mind by Sloan. They are going to be playing at the Townhouse very shortly, coming up in April. So you definitely want to get your tickets for that in advance. Last, we have Nobody by the Sheepdogs. They are going to be performing at the Caruso Club on March 5th. And last update on their page, they have about 50 tickets left. So if you want to catch that show, definitely get on it. They're going to be touring with their brand new album that just came out a few weeks ago, Changing Colors. And they always put on a great show. So we're going to have first up the Tony Anselmo song. This is your courtesy warning that there might be some swears in it, so turn your station if you don't want anyone to hear that.
Thank you, Tony Anselmo, for not telling us our band is total shit, for allowing us to believe all the lies our wives and girlfriends told us. Thank you, Tony Anselmo, for not letting on our CD is a joke, for letting us live a life. Oh man, how can we ever thank you? Could have said
Are you fucking kidding?
you wanted to say
Rubbish.
you were thinking,
Not today.
but you kept it to yourself.
Is there anything else you could be doing?
You wanted to say
Fat chance.
you were thinking,
Don't give up your day job.
but you kept it to yourself. Thank you, Tony Anselmo, for not telling us our music is a hit, for letting us have our dreams, although you know we're fucking hopeless, fucking hopeless, fucking hopeless.
Rubbish.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to Creator Conversations. I bet you're expecting some music right now. Turns out copyright laws even apply to us. So check below in the description for all the links for the music that we would have played this episode, and you can always follow us on Spotify to keep up to date with our playlists. Welcome back to CKLU 96.7. We are back again with Creator Conversations. We are this episode talking with Tony Anselmo. So if you caught the first half, we got lots of backstory on Records on Wheels and about basically what Tony thinks about the future of downtown and even the fate of vinyl. So we're going to continue talking with him. We're going to learn more about his Blues for Debbie fundraiser that he's organizing in support of the Northern Cancer Foundation. We're also going to get here some of Tony's responses to our Creator Conversations questions, and we're going to get a few selections from Tony as well. Remember, if you want to listen to this episode again, or if you want to check out any of our past episodes, you can go to ourcreator.com. We have every single episode uploaded. You can check them out with a full article and everything you need to enjoy them, as well as a playlist to just set off the rest of your day. So we're going to head straight into our interview here. So this is the second half of our interview with Tony Anselmo. So now that Records on Wheels is closed, I know you've been keeping yourself quite busy with all sorts of different projects. So can you tell me about a few of the projects that you've been working on?
Well, I do a fundraiser once a year in memory of my late wife, which I lost 4 years ago. And she was my partner, my soulmate, the light of my life. And I miss her still 4 years later. It's like it was yesterday. And to keep her spirit alive, I do a fundraiser for the Northern Cancer Foundation once a year. And it always falls in the first week in April. This is my fourth one doing for them. And the feel of this one is it's going to be a major success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I know you have a really exciting performer coming in for this one.
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'd love to be able to say that we are friends. He is a world-renowned guitar player. He's a blues guitar player. And he's played with Dylan, Tom Waits, the legendary blues band, which was Muddy's band. And he's done a lot of things on his own as well, solo act stuff. Guitar Player wrote him up a few years ago as being in the top 5 most underrated guitar players in the world. So that goes far to say his talent.
Mm-hmm. So this is Duke Robillard that we're bringing in for Blues for Debbie this year. Yeah. And you were lucky enough to get him. He just got off the tour bus with Bob Dylan.
That's right.
Just hopped right over to Sudbury to play for us.
Well, actually, it seemed like it was almost going to be a touch and go thing, because the 3 shows I've done prior to this, I brought different styles of blues in. I brought in a Zydeco band. I brought a Chicago-style blues player. And then last year I brought in a female singer from Detroit. So I was humming and hawing, who do I bring in? And I said, you know what? I'm going to bring Duke Robillard back. This will be the 5th time he's played in Sudbury. Now, I call up his agency and I said, I think I'd like to bring Duke back. And the agency says, well, we don't handle him anymore. You'll have to get a hold of his agent. So they gave me the number. We called his agent. And the agent says, I'm not sure that he'll want to play in Sudbury. And I said to them, tell them it's for me, because he's played for me before.
Tell them Tony called.
And 5 minutes later, I get a call back saying, oh, he'd be delighted to play.
Just for Tony.
We have the history, so that's good.
You've got a good rapport with him, that's for sure. So we have Blues for Debbie coming up. So what day, when, can you give us some more details about where you can get tickets for the event?
Sure. The show's on April 6th. It's at the Caruso Club. So you can get tickets at the Caruso Club, the Northern Cancer Foundation, AJ Hardware, the Motley Kitchen downtown, and Jet Landry's in New Sudbury. And then for people that know who I am, they could always get a hold of me and I can hook them up with tickets.
They can always track you down.
Yes.
So you must have met like all sorts of interesting performers over your years and involved in the music industry.
Some really good people and some people that should never have gotten the recognition that they got.
Well, that happens in every field, I guess.
Yeah.
Is there any particular, do you have a particular memory of any time where you had a chance to really just meet your hero, like someone that you really looked up to?
Yes. I got to meet Frank Zappa. That was the highlight of my life, so to say.
Wow. Don't underplay it or anything.
Oh, I can't. I mean, truly, meeting him was everyone's dream.
So how did you get to meet him?
Well, what happened was, again, as I was saying earlier, that he had a rapport with the Records on Wheels people from Toronto. So we went to the show, and we were like 7, 8 rows from the front of the stage, and we got to go backstage and meet him. And he sat in a chair, and here's a man that everyone says, well, he had to be on dope because of his music. No alcohol, just caffeine and nicotine. Unfortunately, that's what probably killed him.
All right, Tony. Well, we're going to get into our creator conversation questions. Sometimes these are a little tough, but I want to see what your opinions are. So, Tony, who would you say is your favorite Sudbury?
My favorite Sudbury. It's hard to narrow down to one. There's so many good people in this city. And one of the guys that I've always who's done so much for this city is Rick Bartolucci. That man, I don't think gets enough credit for the things he's done for this city. To the point where he's been criticized outside of Sudbury because he's brought so much to this town.
What would you say is Sudbury's signature dish?
It used to be the amazing pastrami sandwich at Frank's, but Frank's is gone now, so we lost that part of our history.
Yeah, that place was around for quite a while, right?
Yes.
So they were probably at least as long as Records on Wheels.
Longer, probably.
Do you think there's a contender these days?
In the food world?
Yeah, in the food world.
I think we have a number of local restaurateurs that are making their mark. The Motley Kitchen, Respect is Burning. Respect is Burning has actually brought some life to our downtown, which is nice to see.
Yeah. It's really kind of exciting, all the stuff that Rob Gregorini doing down there. He brings a lot of energy to the core, for sure.
He's a man with a lot of energy.
Yeah, to say the least. If you've met Rob Gregorini, he's got a lot of energy.
Yes.
Our last question for our Creator Conversations question here. Who would you say is the best performer you think you've seen on a Sudbury stage?
Oh, geez. Again, a lot of water's gone under that bridge. The one guy that really, I actually had sore cheeks from smiling so much was when Colin Linden jammed with Paul Dunn at the Colson on a Saturday afternoon.
Really?
Oh, it was spectacular.
So you and 5 other people saw that show?
No, those matinees used to be jammed.
They used to do a regular matinee at the Colson? Wow, okay. Yeah, I mean, these days you would think there'd probably be no one there.
No, there isn't.
But it used to be a regular thing.
Yeah.
It's wild how much the city's changed over the years.
And it's funny, one comment I want to make. Last time I spoke to Colin when he played at the Townhouse, who's your favorite guitar player? And Colin's an accomplished player himself. He goes, Paul Dunn's my favorite guitar player.
Wow.
So there's a little credit to Sudbury.
Right. So this is our, now we're going to get into a segment we call our Hot Jam Sandwich. So this is something that's it's a fun one. Basically you get to pick 2 songs that you think I should play on the show, and I'll pick one as well. And then we play it as a three playlist lineup. So Tony, do you have any requests that I should play?
Well, my favorite song of all time is Watermelon and Easter Hay. It's an instrumental song by Frank Zappa.
All right.
It's filled with so much emotion. It's just spectacular.
Wow. All right. Do you have another pick for us?
Well, I'll go to my blues library now. And I'll pick. I'm a Man by Muddy Waters.
All right. That sounds like a decent choice. Well, I gotta say, I probably don't have anything myself that aligns with the legacy of these people that you have chosen. But I'm gonna pick a song by Butch Walker. He's an artist. I've told you about him before.
Yeah.
He's one of these people that you don't know his name, but you have heard a million things that he's worked on. He's worked on albums for Pink, for Panic at the Disco, Fall Out Boy. He's worked with, I'm trying to think of like other artists he's worked with. He's worked with just about everything that you hear on the radio. But then he's also a recording artist in his own right as well. But it seems to be his producing that most people really kind of hear from him. Mm-hmm. So he's definitely like an underrated artist that not a lot of people know about. So I'm not sure what song I'm going to pick, but I'll pick one.
It's funny. That's the reputation of Records on Wheels, was like our regulars would come in and go, give me something. And knowing what I'd already sold them in the past, here, try this.
Oh, nice. Actually, yeah.
And I think that sort of thing is gone out of what's left of the record business.
Mm-hmm.
That rapport with your customers, that you know what they'll like.
All right, so we have my request and we have Tony's request. So we're going to go to some music right now, and we'll be back for the end of our show. Welcome back. So we have our marching orders here. That was just our last half of our interview with Tony Anselmo. This hour we've been talking to him about Records on Wheels, about Downtown Sudbury, about Blues for Debbie. Blues for Debbie is a great fundraiser that Tony throws on every year in memory of his wife, in support of the Northern Cancer Foundation. So you can get your tickets right now. There's several different locations. You can get at Crusoe Club. You can get them for Tony himself, through the Northern Cancer Foundation. We'll post more information about where you can find tickets. But the performer we have in for the show on April 6th at the Crusoe Club is Duke Robillard, who has quite a phenomenal pedigree, if you do have some time to look him up, and a great blues guitar player. So if Tony likes him, it's good enough for me. So we're going to go into our Hot Jam Sandwich playlist here. So first up from Tony, we have two requests. So we have Watermelon and Easter Hay by Frank Zappa. So that is an instrumental track that Tony thinks that we should check out. My pick for our Hot Jam Sandwich was an artist named Butch Walker. So the song that I chose by him is Wilder in the Heart. And then Tony's second choice for our lineup here was by Muddy Waters, is a song called Manish Boy. So that's, again, our lineup: Watermelon and Easter Hay by Frank Zappa, Wilder in the Heart by Butch Walker, and Manish Boy by Muddy Waters. Hey, thanks for tuning in to Creator Conversations. I bet you're expecting some music right now. Turns out copyright laws even apply to us. So check below in the description for all the links for the music that we would have played this episode, and you can always follow us on Spotify to keep up to date with our playlists. All right, welcome back to CKLU 96.7. That was the wrap of our Hot Jam playlist this week. So we had two requests from Tony. That was Watermelon and Easter Hay by Frank Zappa and Manish Boy by Muddy Waters. I threw one in there as well, Wilder in the Heart by Butch Walker. So we are just all finished with our show this week. We were talking with Tony Anselmo. We talked all about Records on Wheels. We talked about his Blues for Debbie fundraiser he has coming up on April 6th. You can catch Duke Robillard. This is an event in support of Northern Cancer Foundation, so definitely get your tickets. You can find your tickets right now at the Northern Cancer Foundation office, at the Crusoe Club, or through Tony himself. And remember, as always, ourcreator.com for any past episodes if you want to listen to this one again, and for any updates on what things are going around Sudbury. So we'll leave you off for tonight. We'll be back again 5 o'clock next Tuesday.